challenge.
It's Brice and Win with the challenge.
Break down.
CBS reality royalty to be crowned.
Survivor Love Island.
Amazing Race and Big Brother.
Survivor Love Island.
Amazing Race and Big Brother. It's Brice and Win with the challenge.
Break down.
It's Brice and Win with the challenge.
Break down.
It's Brice and Win with the challenge.
Break down.
Welcome to the Wendell Holland YouTube channel, recording live from Philadelphia for our first deep dive on the challenge. Breakdown. If you like what you see, please subscribe to my YouTube page. Give it a thumbs up, get in those comments, share the video. Let us know what you think. I try to respond to everyone. Brice picks and chooses what he wants to respond to, but it's all right. This YouTube audio can be heard exclusively on the Purple Pants podcast on all streaming sites. I am your host, the People's Champ, Wendell Holland, and by my side is my bestie, the host of the Purple Pants podcast, the smelliest of them all, Mr. Brice Isaiah. How you doing?
What's going on? What's popping? I'm ready for this interview.
Okay. We are even luckier to have joining us again another one of my best friends in the whole world from Survivor Ghost Island, the man who was so close again to winning, this time on the Challenge USA, Mr. Domnick Abbate. How are you?
Oh, thanks for reminding me how close I get to the prize at the end of these things. Right? 2 in a row, right there, grabbing it, tasting it,
It
smelling
says something about you, man. You get close.
I don't know. I get close, and this time it had nothing to do with relationships or anything. It was just a big one of many brain farts during this season for me.
It seems like a few people had brain farts on this on
quite
this
a
show.
few brain farts out there for sure.
But I wanted to get into what is fresh on a lot of people's minds. Are we finally clear and regular from this eating challenge that we saw you
Bro, we can't start with that. Do we have to start with that?
We gotta get right into it, man.
Oh, why don't you ask me how I'm doing? The show's over. How you come? How's things? Are things back to normal? I'll do the introduction. I got this. Don't ask me about the part where I'm farting all over national television. Look. The show just ended a few days ago. All right. I'm still getting through a lot of emotions and thoughts. But yeah, I mean, look, that eating challenge. I bet if you ask any MTV challenge fan or any MTV challenge player, they will laugh. They will be like, this is a joke. They're a bunch of wusses. They got to eat vegetables. I agree. I thought we were walking up to like the head of a cow or some intestines or something. I was ready. I'm like, let's go. Like, I'm not going to love that idea, but I've experimented in the wild game world before, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, I've eaten beef tongue and things like that. Let's do it. And then I get there and I see a full onion and 12 cloves of garlic, which I knew was not going to be as easy as it looked. But I also felt like maybe because we had a few vegans in the cast that maybe they're like, look, we can't force someone to eat something that's against their philosophy, whatever it may be. So that's why I assumed we walked up to that. But I also recall in past MTV challenges, there were vegans who were forced to eat animal products.
Our boy Nehemiah was like a 15-year vegan.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's just more family friendly because it's the CBS version, or we're really just rookies at this and they don't want to like cause a situation where no one's finishing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As like you saw at the end.
Yeah. Well, we will get to that.
Know what I mean? So, but still sitting down and jumping into this, like I said, it seemed relatively easy. And in the beginning, it wasn't terrible, right? You're doing your thing. I think for most of us, some people had different philosophies on how to go about it. Like, I think you heard Angela talk about like drowning the vegetables in this lemon juice. The lemon juice was not mandatory to finish.
Oh,
okay.
I thought it was too. I asked that question. I'm like, do we have to finish this juice? They're like, no, just the onions and onion and garlic. So people were kind of using it as, I guess, like an acid to break up the whatever. But the onion itself had enough acid in it, and garlic. It just felt so potent. So my philosophy on that was not drowning it in that stuff at all. What I would do is like cut each clove in half, or even sometimes in thirds. Or you couldn't cut it, I would bite it in thirds. Put it in the back of the throat, slug some water, and just get it down, you know, in whole. So I wasn't chewing any garlic. And I think a lot of people took that approach. But the onion's a different story. Onion, you kind of got to chew it up and swallow it. Talking about it, just I could taste it as we speak about it. Because even like hitting that lemon juice to kind of break it up, it wasn't pure lemon juice. It had some real zesty zing to it. It was fiery. It was a fiery mix, you know, and some people enjoyed it. I couldn't stand it. But so like I said, I did the best I could, just shoving food in the mouth and then taking big slurp of water.
Wow.
And just trying to force it down. And here's the kicker. I'm pretty sure, 99% sure, that everyone but me puked.
You didn't puke.
I didn't puke.
Oh,
I came
going out somewhere else.
I came close to puking. But I couldn't. And I was dying to. I'm like, get this out of my body. I cannot continue this race with my body, you know, with this situation like this. But there's actually, before we continue, I really want to like take you back to how the entire final really how they set the stage for it, because I think it'll explain a lot about the finale and the ending.
Yeah.
To a lot of people that, like, I know there's some gripes out there about how this ending went and whatever. Like, for me, the most devastating part of this season for me personally is the lack of storyline. Okay. Like, I just felt like there were so many developed relationships that were not talked about, personal stories that were not talked about. I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people. Like, let's go back to our season, for example, when it's easy for everyone, like everyone remembers that was the Dom and Wendell show. And I know to our castmates, it was so obnoxious to sit back and watch it, right? Like, of course, it's Dom and Wendell again. Of course, it's Dom and Wendell again. And I get that. But at least it followed up to a conclusion that included Dom and Wendell. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So even though it might have been annoying to the fellow castaways that we had out there, at least it made sense. Where I feel like our season was very Tyson Angela heavy, and you saw their relationship and their dynamic in almost every episode. But meanwhile, the guy that won the show, Danny, we didn't see any of his relationships. Me, Danny, and Desi were in an alliance from like day 3, like early on in the game. How many times in this show did you see me, Danny, and Desi have a conversation? Not one time.
No.
Not one time. Not one conversation. How do you take that away from the winner of the show?
Yeah.
So that to me is the most heartbreaking aspect. That, like, again, I love the Kiki stuff. It was great. It was fun for everyone at home. I love Kiki, and I'm not taking anything away from that.
Be
careful.
But
there was more to Danny than that.
Right.
The strategy of it, his thinking, his way of going about his game. And I just feel like he was shortchanged in that aspect. And the same for me and a lot of the people that played the game. I feel like for me, like I was spoiled on Survivor. Look, everyone does these shows, right? And everyone has really good moments and everyone has bad moments. Okay. And I was lucky on Survivor. They left out a lot of my bad moments and they gave me a lot of great moments. And I shined and I got a lot of positive feedback on that show. And everyone was like, you killed it out there, bro. You're such a good player. You need to come back. Blah, blah, blah. This show, I feel like they took every good part of me out and put every shitty part of me in. Okay. And now I got hate. That's the way it goes. But look, this is what we sign up for. You're literally signing your life away to say, look, you can do whatever you want with me.
Yeah.
I give you permission to do that. And I have to just say that is what it is. And it sucks. And sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. But like I said, less about me, more about I feel like Danny and Sarah, especially Sarah across the finish line. And they kind of ruined her. And I know a lot of people don't love Sarah. Trust me, I'm on Twitter. I see it.
Is she on Twitter?
She's not. And she's smart. She knows better. But listen, I don't let Twitter or any other contestant from the show dictate how I should feel about a person. I'm going to let my own personal experience with someone determine what I think of that person. Yeah. And all I could say is everything I hear about her on Twitter is fucking false. She is such a good person. She is such a good person. I know Tyson shits on her, whatever. Obviously he's going to, she had something to do with his demise in Survivor 40.
Yeah.
So obviously he has a gripe. So you're going to hear him talk down about her, but that's not the experience I had with Sarah. To me, she was a sister to me in this game, and I leaned on her all the time. And I'm even bummed they didn't show any of that, where I had a couple of real, good conversations with her. And the fact that those were left out kind of was like, God damn it, how do you not show that? It was such an integral part of the show. So I just had to get that off my chest, that I really just want the audience to know that these episodes were so breezed through. And I know that happens on Survivor too, but I feel like you get more story on Survivor.
So I got a question for you, Dom. Different Survivor is its own beast, right. And we've watched Survivor evolve for 2 decades plus, and they got a great equation, and they keep tweaking it. And they even more recently, they've been trying to focus on telling stories and showing this breadth of people and all of that. Right. And this is a different company. And I don't know, maybe we were spoiled with Survivor. Maybe we're spoiled in that. I think Survivor is the greatest show out there. I think it's the greatest competition show. I think it commands a lot from the top to the bottom, from production and everything, despite me having my gripes with, how I was portrayed my second time. I think it's the best. And
it's the creme de la creme.
Right? We were lucky. We got spoiled early, right?
Well, that's what I was trying to determine while I was out on the challenge is it because my lack of experience with working with different production companies, or is Survivor just that much better than the rest? Maybe everyone kind of has hiccups here and there in the normal, reality TV world. But you're right. On Survivor, everything was so bang, 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 bang. And as soon as something was done, you were shipped off to a certain spot, and, everything just seemed very super organized. And again, this time around, everything was still functioning very well. There were a few missteps along the way, but I don't feel like it had anything that affected the result of my game. You know what I mean? If I had a serious gripe, I'll call my attorney. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I don't need to go out and talk nonsense about my experience out there. I put it this way. If I had won the game, would I be complaining about the things that didn't go my way? No. So why am I going to complain? You know what I mean? Certain things didn't go perfectly smooth, but whatever. We're here. All of our limbs are still on our bodies, and the game was the game, and that's the way it goes. So I'm just, I know that there's been a lot of banter about the finale and the production and blah blah blah, but get over it. Let's go.
And another thing, Brice, I know you want to jump in, but another thing I just want to say to the listeners is the three of us do not intend on this to be like a challenge bashing production session or anything like that, because we've seen banter and heard talks and all of that. But again, this is the first time they're coming over to CBS to do this thing. Obviously, there will be growing pains. Obviously, there will be things that we will cover, but it's not our intention to talk trash on this show. I had a great time watching you guys out there.
Yeah, so did I. I guess what I want to know, Dom, is we see the ending of would happen on your final challenge.
Mhm.
And for me, you know, when you was doing the Sudoku, your hands got cold and it seemed like you stepped away. And I felt like the Domnick, Levert, Luther Vandross, Abbate that I know, I feel like when you were talking to who you were talking to, telling them that it's too cold, I can't do this. And then Tyson and Justine joined you. Did you feel like in that moment you were going to get eliminated? Or did you feel like what you were trying to convey to them was that it's too cold and maybe they'll allow you to warm up somewhere? Maybe they'll like just pause the whole challenge and where everyone is at, you warm up for 45 minutes and then the game will resume? Or in that moment were you just basically saying it's a done deal, I'm out?
It's more the latter. It's more like it's a done deal and I'm out. But again, not characteristic of any of us, of me, Tyson, Justine. So that's why it's kind of, I was hoping to be able to tell you the story leading up to it, if you don't mind.
The floor is yours.
All right. Again, I'm just going to kind of give you guys the play-by-play on what we went through along the way. And again, I'm only going to speak from my own perspective. I'm sure for certain people, things were easier, things were harder. I think the girls had a real tough time doing things solo out there, which is wild.
Yeah.
But so again, I don't know exactly what day of the week we were told that, you know, like eat up. Let's just assume it was a Friday. And again, the whole schedule was very regimented, you know, like Mondays and Thursdays were daily challenge days, Tuesdays, Fridays were elimination days. So the fact that Alyssa had gone home, we knew like, all right, TJ's basically saying y'all made the final. Now we knew we didn't have much time at that point. So I think like it was a Friday and they come in and they say, look, eat up, you know, and there's a 2:30 a.m. wake up call. So it's Friday. We're like, oh shit, we're starting to shake in our boots a little bit. We eat dinner and we all lay down to go to bed. And I personally can speak for myself. I didn't sleep 1 ounce. Like I even say it in the episode. I didn't sleep. And I'm fairly certain most of the other members also either didn't sleep at all or probably didn't get much sleep either. So I would say on average, we were probably sitting on around a 2-hour sleep cycle going into Saturday. So now Saturday morning, 2:30, we ended up getting up at 2:30. They were expecting to have breakfast set up for us by 3:30. Everything got pushed back. I don't know what happened. Breakfast didn't come out till much later. We ended up getting to the airport super late, whatever it was. And they put us, the girls and the guys, on their own separate planes. Okay. And I'm like, oh, look, we're flying private. This is great. You get on this plane, it's like a death tube. All right. I mean, this is a claustrophobic person's nightmare. It was like you were getting into a coffin with 4 other people, and they were going to fly you 20,000 feet into the sky. So now we're leaving Buenos Aires, Argentina, and we're going to Patagonia, the southern tip of Argentina, which is not far from Antarctica. Okay, if you look at it on a map, it's not far from. I think.
How long of a flight is that?
So in the private jet going there, it was, I think, maybe 2.5 hours.
Okay.
Okay. So I think we landed in a town called Bariloche. So if anyone wants to look up where we actually were, it's Bariloche, just for reference, so you know where in the world we were. And this is one of the most beautiful places on the planet. And this is coming from someone that has been doing quite a bit of national parking lately, and I've seen some really beautiful stuff. When I landed in Patagonia, I was blown away by how beautiful this place was. So we land, I don't know, 6 a.m., something like that. And they take us to our first pit stop, we'll call it, in the Amazing Race world. And yeah, they suit us up in wetsuits. We pick our partners. We do the algorithm, and Ben ends up having to leave, unfortunately. And we start. And now this water is so rough. Like, I knew Enzo was in trouble. I'm sorry. But I mean, we're talking, again, I don't know how many 100 yards of a swim it was. I don't know that it was necessarily as long as they said it was, but it was it was a daunting swim, and I'm a very good swimmer, and I had a life jacket on, and I remember myself being like, holy shit, like, not only is this water like skin piercing cold where it like feels like it's cutting you, and we had wetsuits on, but even like hitting your face, you're just like, holy shit, that is cold. But the actual act of the swim was difficult because the current was strong, and I thought it was like a lake, but it was still like just moving. So it really required a lot of effort. And then you see, like, as we go, Angela and I'm not going to talk about the results. Everyone knows the results of each leg. That's not important. So now what they do is they take us out of our wetsuits and they give us our dry clothing back, which is essentially just like, shorts or pants. But what are those? What's like the spandex thing they call
compression?
The compression shorts or the compression pants. And then we had like the Under Armour jacket, right? Because we still weren't up high in elevation. We were still fairly low. It was middle of the day. The temperature was roughly in like the low 40s, let's say. Wow. Maybe around 50, low 50s at like the peak of the day. So after being so cold from the first leg with that freezing water and then changing in like 40, 50 degree with a nice breeze, you're like, holy shit, give me my warm clothes.
Yeah.
So now we re-suit up because we don't want to be in that cold environment, like that feeling again of being cold. We feel, all right, we're good. We're nice and warm. You're good. Now run. And you're like, oh shit, we're running.
Wow.
So now you're running with all your compression gear on and all these layers. And now you convert very quickly to a sweat. Now, again, I know people who've done this in the real challenge are sitting here laughing at me right now saying, bro, toughen up. That's not the point. I get it. I know.
Wes is listening to you laughing at you, man.
I'm not saying that this was any harder than them. I'm not. I'm just telling you the personal experience I went through. Because like I said, I think it'll give better explanation to why the ending ended the way it did. Okay. And again, this is strictly like my take on the environment change along the way and how things went from hot to cold. And I even say hot to cold in the episode because you started freezing. Now we're suited up, full compression, and we're running. And the run is not that far to the first food eating challenge. I'd say we ran maybe 10, 15 minutes, a little bit of hills, but nothing too crazy. For the most part, it was a fairly straight run, but still 15 minutes of running with a little bit of hills with full compression gear on. You're now sweating. At least I am, the big guy.
Yeah.
So we now sit down at the food challenge. Again, we had some breakfast that morning, but I didn't eat much because I had a big dinner the night before. My stomach felt full still. I knew I needed some carbs for what was coming. So I definitely think I sucked down a bowl of oatmeal that morning. But now we're here. We're at the onion and garlic thing. And we're filling ourselves up with this shit. And it's terrible. And again, like I said, most of them puked. If not all of them, but I didn't. And now I got this. Go ahead, Wen.
Was there any strategy to puking? I heard on Tyson's pod that, some of the people ate a little bit and then, oh my gosh.
I mean, I heard someone get reprimanded for doing that. Like, you can't do that. So I didn't attempt it.
Okay.
I was just like, I'll just bang it out. No one was that far ahead of anyone else. But then out of nowhere, Danny and Alyssa and Angela were just like, we're done. I'm like, oh shit. All right, let me get moving.
It was hilarious when Angela was like doing her little knife and fork thing. You're like, I'm just going to eat the thing.
But meanwhile, it's like not even accurate because I was slicing my onion. Like I was using my knife as well earlier. And then they took the utensils away from us and they said no more utensils. So I don't know how that soundbite came to be.
Okay.
But whatever, I must have said it, I don't know, whatever.
It was hilarious. Yeah.
But then I think you hear me say I could already feel it coming out my ass and all this. But again, these are the things you're thinking are ever going to air. You're like, you're just having a feeling in the moment. And of course, they take like the absolute worst of me and make sure that my kids hear it. Like not just my kids, but my kids' teachers and the principal. And now I'm farting, running through the brush, and Justine's behind me. She's like, my guy got gas right now. And
Parent teacher
like,
conference is going to be crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, right. Parent teacher night's going to be a real hoot. So I'm just like, why can't they just show like the funny parts of it? Like when we were busting on each other and joking around things. Like, I don't know. I just was like, oh God, they have to do that. But they did because they felt that was, going to make good TV. And it sounds like it made great TV.
It made good TV. You're such a good storyteller. I didn't want to interrupt you, but your thoughts on the Enzo Desi situation?
Oh yeah, let's get back to that. I'm sorry. Yeah. That's a tough thing to talk about. Desi, who again, not only a friend, but an alliance member. We were so proud. We had such a great moment, the three of us, right before the final, where we were just like hugging it out, the three of us, and like we did kind of sound familiar when, right?
You and Laurel.
You know what I'm saying? So like the same thing, the same like just feeling of such great accomplishment to get to this point with the two people who you started the game with and are able to finish it with. It had such parallels for me, such parallels. So for me, I was just like, again, like I'm here and I'm like, can I this time finish what I didn't get to finish last time? And that's also something that is not really addressed in this season, is that how our season ended. Like the one thing people always ask me, like, what would you have done different? And it's always the same thing. Like I would have not taken my foot off the gas pedal. I had an opportunity. I could have went against Wendell and Fire. I didn't do that. That's me letting off the gas. This season of the challenge, I will not take my foot off the gas at any point, which is why you see me take shots at the Tyson, Angela, Kylan thing early on, because I felt like this is a powerhouse group that's going to control this game, and no one seems to care. I care. Like I was like, I'm not playing on the sidelines. I'm here to go big or go home. I don't care if it kicks my ass down the road that I took shots at Kylan or Andrew or Tyson or whoever. I'm like, I'm not playing safe. I'm going hard. There was even a moment. There was a thing with Angela and me that was not talked about either. And I understand why it wasn't, because it never came to fruition. But when I was partners with Angela, I had this thing where I said that if we win the daily challenge together, we're going to go back to the house and deliberate on who to throw in against the loser. And I'm going to agree with her and let her feel comfortable and safe that, yes, Ange, I agree, that's the right person to go in. And then when we got to elimination in the arena, switch my response as to who I want to throw in and make sure it was either Tyson or someone else that she was working with. And then Angela would then say, I disagree with that. So we're at a stalemate. And then TJ may, we never confirmed if this was the rule, but TJ may have said, okay, well then you guys have to come into elimination. And then I was going to rip my jacket off and have my uniform underneath. They'd be like, let's go. Because I believed that she would have given in.
Okay.
The gamble in me believed that I could have bluffed her here.
Wow.
By showing that I'm
Domnick move right there.
That was my big Dom move of the season that I wanted so badly to happen. Right. And I even thought that was why the algorithm had a misstep and put me with her a second time. Because we came in second place the first time on trivia. We almost won trivia. And then if we would have won trivia, I would have had an opportunity to, put this big move into play. Again, I'm talking about something that never happened. Boo, boo. But I just want you to know how hard I was looking to play. I was looking to go balls to the wall, like throw everyone in. That's a threat. I don't care if it takes me out. I'm going to this thing. So that's where I was at. So yeah. So I tried to do it big. But let's get back to, we're at the food eating challenge. Yeah. Oh, sorry. You had to know. Is that where we are?
Go ahead,
so
my man.
We're at the food eating challenge. As you heard, we stuffed it down. I couldn't throw up. So now I'm running through the rest of this final with this in my system, which is brutal. And listen, even the people that threw up still have some of it in their system. Yeah. Okay, I don't care what you say. And now you got to just, I know you guys talked about it on your last recap about like about the garlic going through the pores of your skin. Yeah. And how bad that must smell, right?
Yeah.
Now, think about what that smells like after 2 days in compression gear, sweating. So you saw when TJ opened the tent the next morning.
We had a question from
what was Twitter. The question? Did I shit my pants? Is this the question?
At Fatman Anderson asks, he said, "You look like you wanted to kill TJ when he said that that you guys smelled when you came out of this."
Well,
tent.
that was 6 or 7 of us with garlic infused soul and drenched wet clothes and whatever else, and the smell of a moist tent. That in itself doesn't smell good, right? Come on, you know what the smell I'm talking about.
Yeah,
a moist tent. All been in one.
Did you guys have access to any like bathrooms or anything during these 2 days?
We were told, Angela, I remember, it was like, what do I do if I have to go to the bathroom? And they were like, yeah, there'll be a bathroom stop at the end of each leg or something. There was never a bathroom. Ooh. Not one time.
Good thing you're on Survivor.
So guys had it easy, and girls, they had to squat, and it sucked because like they were like, why tell us that there's bathrooms there? Right. There's not.
Yeah.
So, okay. So we're now running. We're solved this math stuff. We all finish. Kayla. Oh, wait. Did I ever end up? I didn't even finish the Enzo Desi thing. I'm sorry. See, I went off on a tangent.
You know, we have notes, but we're following you, my man.
Yeah. So let me, I don't want to skip over that because that was a real big thing. But again, Desi, friend of mine, ally member, all the passion in the world to play this game, wanted nothing more than this and the opportunity to do this final, and to have that taken away from her from something that was out of her control sucks. I can't imagine the frustration I would have went through.
Yeah. One of the listeners asked, it was at Silly Bleep, asked about that. Like, was there anyone that like tried to fight for Desi or anything like that when they're like pulling her from the game? Or it's like, you know, this is the first obstacle. We ain't saying nothing. We're just gonna go.
Here's the sad part of it. Here's the nasty side of humanism.
You want to see people eliminated.
Desi and Enzo leaving meant that all the money in their bank goes into the main pot. So from a human standpoint, you want to hug her and you want to pull her back in, but at the same time, you want her 15K.
Yeah. Understood. It's a game.
We're here to compete. We're here. You heard me say it in his last episode. The only true ally is sitting at my house right now.
Yep. True story.
So again, devastating moment. Something that's, you can't even, what can you say about it? It is what it is. And Enzo is beating himself up for it. But look, panic attacks are a real thing. Trust me, you're talking to someone who's dealt with them in their lifetime. And when you feel like it's over,
right,
and you can't get that breath and you think, holy shit, I'm about to die. You're not thinking about talking you off. You're in pure survival mode. You're in pure survival mode, even though from the outside perspective, you're perfectly fine. You're getting air. You're in a life jacket. You're just freaking out. But anyone that's gone through anxiety or panic attacks knows that there's no one that's going to change your mind. You're dying and you're dying.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Brice, anything to that?
No, I agree with Dom's statement. I felt like watching that was hard because Desi's one of my best friends in the world. And I feel like seeing Enzo in that moment, you know, it's just like, so I agree with that. You know,
me and Brice were arguing a little bit about this panic attack.
Well, I did on the last recap.
Yeah. Or in real life or something.
Oh, in real life, yeah. Why? What was the argument? I'm curious.
I mean, the argument was that I felt like, yeah, I see that it's a panic attack, and then this is nothing taken away from Enzo, but I just feel like
you could have
like
together. Rational bone.
There were moments in which that like you could just be like, for the money, I'm going to get this out, like, you know. And so I was just saying to Wendell at that moment that I feel like there have been moments in my life where people don't feel like I'm a competitor, but in a moment like that, I would have been able to, you know.
Brice, that's a great point. And I'm going to give you a clear example of when I went through the same thing. Okay. So the daily challenge that Kayla and I won, the car racing one, was actually the most terrifying of all the challenges. More than jumping off buildings. And here's why. I'm claustrophobic. The driver, before you put your helmet on, you put on a very tight fitting black mask that goes over your face. Okay. And pretty thick, like a thick mask.
Like a blackout mask.
Yeah. And it's over your mouth, your nose, everything. And then they drop the helmet on top and make it even tighter. And then they snap it. And then they drop another black mask on top. And then they put your neck guard on, which is snug. And then they strap you in and you're like this. And that, from the outsider's perspective, this is no big deal. You're just driving a car. I was having a full-blown panic attack. If you ask Kayla, she will confirm. I'm like, I can't do this. I'm like, there's no way I'm getting through this. There's no way I'm getting through this. Kayla's like, Dom, you got this. You got this. You got this. And I did exactly what Brice is saying. I closed my eyes and I was like, bro, you ain't going to die. You're just uncomfortable. You're not in pain. You're just uncomfortable. Embrace the discomfort and you'll get through it. And once the race started and I could focus on listening to Kayla's instructions, I was fine because my mind was off the fact that I might not be able to breathe. But in those times, like there were times where we had to stop and start over. And now I'm sitting at 2-3 minutes. And in my brain, I'm starting to think about, I'm not getting air. I'm not getting air. I'm not getting air. And it will take over. It will take over your mind and it will ruin you. So it came very close to that happening to me. And the same thing on the flight, on the private jet. I was having full-blown panic attack on that flight in that death tube. But I was like, bro, find your chi. You're okay. You're not in pain. You're just uncomfortable. And if the plane goes down, you're fucking dead anyway. So who cares? Woo. So you're right, Brice. People can hone it in and find that but I think it's different from sitting in a car than having waves crashing over your head.
No, I agree. I don't want to take anything from Enzo, but I'm just saying that,
some people are able to overcome.
Some people can't overcome. And real quick to talk about Kayla, because I feel like Kayla, not sure if you watched her season of Amazing Race. She was paired up with a partner. They weren't necessarily like the strongest team. And then they almost came so close to winning and they did not. And I felt like some people online were like, Kayla from Amazing Race, what is she doing here on the challenge? But from an outside perspective to watch Kayla, I feel like she was just strong as hell on this challenge and was a beast. And I just feel like I don't hear enough people talking about how great Kayla was. What were your perspective on Kayla?
I thought Kayla was a very well-balanced player. You don't have to be great at anything, but you just need to be good at everything. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I felt like Kayla was, is that she had this really perfect balance of good communication skills, but she could run and she can swim and she's good at puzzles. So when I had her as a partner, I was like, yes, like this is going to be great. And I feel like that applied to a lot of people that we didn't get to see and embrace as fans sitting watching on the television. And you kind of got this one theme. You know what theme I'm talking about? And I'm not taking anything away from Tyson and Angela. They're both freak competitors. Tyson, you saw what he's capable of. He's great at all that stuff. Tyson's greatest qualities, like for the challenge, swimming. There's no one from the past MTV challenge or the current or any. I don't know anyone that can swim faster than Tyson, even in everyday life. Maybe Michael Phelps.
There's that guy. So
he's really good at that. He's great endurance runner, right? And he's got the gift of gab, right? He's got to have the gift. Do you listen to his podcast that he does?
Yes, I do. Every
with
week.
That co-host of his, like that girl comes into the episode with her own opinion, and 2 seconds later he convinces her that her opinion is wrong, and she's just his biggest cheerleader. All she does is agrees with everything he says. So it's a podcast of Tyson talking about his greatness and how great he is. And if something didn't go his way, here's why: A, B, C, D, E. And everyone else is terrible. And his co-host is like, yes, Tyson, you're right. Yay. And I thought after like the 4th or 5th episode, that kind of got old. So I had to stop listening.
These words are the opinions of Dom Abbate.
They're my opinion. And you better not take this out.
Oh, man.
So let's get back to it, though. So, yeah. So Kayla had the perfect balance of everything. And that's what you want in this game. You don't want to have one thing that you suck at, especially when you know you may be dealing with partners down the line, because people don't want to work. As you saw, people didn't want to work with Enzo. They knew he had an issue with swimming, and it ended up costing Desi the game. And I didn't know what people thought of me in the game. I didn't I was the out of shape guy out there, and I was concerned. And I actually had a really wild conversation with Angela at the bar one night. And this is when her and won the peg challenge right before the final. And I was like, I knew it was between me and Enzo. And I was having another weird moment, Brice. We talked about it in the earlier podcast, where I felt like I wanted to do more. Okay. And I went to Angela. I was like, look, Enzo's been in twice already. I'm like,
you did the Dom put me in.
I was like, if you got to do it, I ain't going to be mad at you.
Okay.
Yeah. You didn't see this. Wouldn't this have made a great moment on television?
Yeah.
I mean, yes, but Domnick, Lavert, Luther Vandross.
I know. Look, I had my reasons. I'm not going to get into my reasons. I had my reasons.
You would have been in there against David.
Yeah. And?
Oh.
Yeah. You, nothing. You got nothing. Huh? Okay. I love David, by the way.
So do we.
It would have been a good match. Let's just leave it at that. But anyway, at the bar, when I was kind of hinting to Ange, like, if you want to throw me on, like, don't bend over backwards to save me. And she goes, Dom. And this is where like my attitude towards Angela changed dramatically. Because up until this point, like I was like, slit her throat, get her out of here. Like when Sarah, you remember the arena challenge where not that one, Brice. I'm talking about the one where we're in the soccer stadium.
And Sarah was running around being
so you remember everyone was like, oh, I think you even tweeted something when like, I can't wait for this Sarah Angela showdown in the arena now, right? Like they made this storyline up where I was in this alliance. I was one of the Survivor guys in this alliance with Angela and Alyssa.
Yeah.
It's not accurate.
Oh,
it's not accurate. I'm sorry. It's not accurate. I entertained it and I went along with it, but never was I actually doing it. And how do we know that? Look at the ending. I threw Alyssa in. Right.
Yeah.
But let's backtrack. We're in the soccer stadium. There's this big team up of Angela and Alyssa, and they attack Sarah's board. And now it's like, all right, it's clear as day. These two need to go into the arena together. You know what I'm saying? And Desi won. And Danny won. Guess what? They're in my alliance. Perfect. So the three of us are having this conversation. But before we have the conversation, we get back to the house and I run up to Sarah And I'm like, Sarah, this is the big moment America's been waiting for. You're going to go in there, tear her head off. It's going to be great. I'm like, give the people what they want. So I wanted this more than anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody. Desi wanted it. Sarah wanted it. I wanted it. But Danny is playing logical.
Yeah.
And Danny said, Dom, look, I hear you. We would all love to see that. He goes, but realistically, if Angela comes back and we still have dailies left, she could win. And now we're going to end up going in because she's pissed.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, all right, Dan, you're right.
Using logic.
So he talked me off the ledge and it calmed me down. And I had to kind of like continue on with this phony story of this Survivor guys with Angela and Alyssa narrative, which again, like I said, I was entertaining it, but I never signed off on it. And then there's this, but this is where the friction is with Desi for a moment, where Desi heard that I heard about the Alyssa thing. Right. Because I didn't tell Desi either. I'm like, Desi, I didn't tell you because I didn't entertain it. So this is what created a little bit of friction in our alliance. It was very brief, though, and we continued on. I promise you, folks. It was a brief moment, and it was not good. On our part, we should have included her because she's in our alliance. Why are we withholding any information? Mm-hmm. So that was our bad, and I told her, I'm like, we fucked up. Like, we should have told you about this. Yeah. My bad. I said the reason I didn't is because I never was taking it seriously anyway. But I should have still let you know that the offer was approached to us. All right. So I'm in the bar with Angela. See how I bring that back?
Yeah. I'm in the bar. Such a good narrator right here, right?
I'm in the bar with Angela, and I'm telling her, if you got to put me in, I'm cool with it. I know, Brice. You don't understand why. I have my reasons.
Okay.
I was having a go big or go home moment. And she says this to me, which now I was baffled. And it was I just changed my whole whatever.
Maybe
she said, Dom.
Some other people's opinions.
She said, Dom. But, well, the reason why I say it changed my attitude towards her is because I think you said that she was an ice queen all season.
Yeah.
And she was. I mean, look, I woke up early in the morning and her and I were always her, Ben, me, sometimes Danny, sometimes, but it's the older, like the more seasoned people were up early drinking coffee. So I had a lot of talk with Angela in the mornings, but it was, you could tell she never wanted to let me into her world at any point. It was very just chill, laid back talk. So now I'm in the bar with her and I'm trying to tell her that she can put me in if she wants. And she says the sweetest thing to me. She says, Dom, I think you've been underestimating yourself this entire season. She says, every girl wants you in the final. And I'm like, what? She goes, you're good at everything. Again, not great at anything. Not great at anything.
Say it again for the people in the back.
But good at everything. You know, fairly good, especially with the options that were left. Right? I'm sure if she could go back and snatch Kylan and swap him out with me, I'm sure she would do that. But based on what she had left in her options, I was the better option than Enzo. So she was trying to tell me, like, you're too hard on yourself. Like, you know how to swim, you can do puzzles, you know, you can run. Look, I did goddamn good on that tire challenge.
Right.
I mean, I know they skimmed over it, and my victory speech was very quickly overshadowed with Tyson shitting on me, like he's so goddamn good at. But I had a good moment there, and I think the rest of the group saw I had a good moment there.
Yeah,
and I think that that really gave the girls the confidence that if I get stuck with Dom, it's not the end of the world. You know what I mean? And again, I didn't cost anyone the game, you know, from a female perspective. I could have been faster here or there, but for the most part, I held my own. I made sure that I'm not going to let that person lose or fail at something because I held them back. So that was really important to me. But what I'm trying to say is this thing with Angela and not just me, but Kayla, it's about being well balanced out here. It's about having a little bit of everything, and that will get you to a final. It'll get you through most of a final for the most part.
As a viewer, as a fan, I saw kind of like what I saw in Ghost Island, in that you caught your stride. Like at the beginning, you came in and people were like, I don't know. But as you interacted with people, as you competed and stuff, like you went from like, you know, I don't want to say bumbling around, but like you start jogging, you start running, and now you're like in your stride when you should catch your stride. That last quarter of the you know, challenge, where it's like, all right, now you're seeing Dom win and excel. You tied Tyson at the tire thing. It's like, all right, Dom is where he needs to be to go into a final. He's winning things. People are recognizing it. They're in this case, Angela is communicating that to you.
Right.
So
it's like a similar in Survivor when we went to individual immunity challenges, and that first one where you and I had the showdown with the pulling the thing up. And I'm not saying to bust your chops, even though I would love to bust your chops, that I kicked your ass in that.
Okay.
But, this isn't about me. Okay. This isn't about me or the guy front and center on this DVD.
Not about you. That. It's not about that. But I will say, winning that, knowing that I beat you, who is an athlete, and Yerger, who is an athlete.
True.
It immediately injected me with confidence. Immediately. And that changed my tone for the remainder of the game. You know what I'm saying? So I think the same applied here as well, where like, I mean, obviously the competition is dwindling down. So you're not you don't have to compete with as many people. So it's easier to win something here and there as the numbers draw down, but it didn't matter. To me, I still felt like I was in a good spot. I had a real clear understanding of where everyone was. And I just felt like, you're right. I think if I just, the same way when you talked me off the ledge a lot is what Danny did for me. Like I just told you, where I was like, let's throw Sarah in against Angela. He's like, settle down, dog. Let's rethink this. And that the parallels couldn't like be more like, it's just crazy. It's just craziness how we balanced each other the way you and I did. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was just so great to have found that out there again. Be like, oh my God, I have someone I could just tell anything to. Yeah. Anything. They could use it against me. And if they do, God bless them. But I believe they won't. You know what I mean? Yeah. And there's nothing like having that one or two people that you absolutely know you're locked in with. And again, a lot of that has to do with thinking you can beat that person in the end also, though. Yeah. Right? Because that relationship with you and I wouldn't have lasted if one of us thought we had a huge upper hand over the other, and neither of us were wrong. We were both equally equal until we weren't equal anymore, you know? And with Danny, I thought Danny was just like, I'm happy to run the final with Dom. Like, I'm a Dallas Cowboy. He's Dom. Right? And to me, the reason why I had no problem running a final with Danny is because up until the final, he didn't really do much. And I'm not saying it wasn't intentional.
So that's a question that I have to ask, because I felt like in the final challenge, you know, Tyson's like, where has this Danny been the whole time? Do you feel like Danny might have been holding back a little bit of the juice?
Sandbagging?
Really? Absolutely. I absolutely believe that his politic game was so good that he knew that he didn't have to go balls to the wall. Oh.
So you're saying he was so good socially that he didn't have to go show how good he was in those challenges.
The only thing is, what concerned him was that he didn't have his qualifying money.
Right.
So I felt like he was like, so I'm not going to say every time he was sandbagging. No, he wanted his qualifying funds, and then I felt like he was going to hold back. It's hard to tell. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. Like, part of me thinks he was sandbagging, but the other part is like, how can you sandbag if you don't have your qualifying money?
And you're a former Dallas Cowboy. I just think
I know.
I just like in Tyson's case,
And
Tyson
Chicago
was trying
Bear.
to win. Yeah, like as a former competitor on the highest stage, like whenever you put this. I played high school football, and still, anytime I go out there, I want to take heads off.
Bro, I watch football.
Right.
And I want to throw shit at my TV.
Right. So like I feel like it's so hard to turn off that switch. But in his case, if he was
I'm not gonna say he turned it off. I believe he put full effort.
He just wasn't going balls to the wall, but he still was competing.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. But there's no way you like. But look, in the last men's elimination challenge, he won. And he won. I don't know the what's the word I'm looking for? The distance in which he won between first and second. But
yeah,
he was so confident that was his. Like, I remember telling him, because all right, when we did that soccer stadium challenge, the entrance to get up the steps, we all had to go through the same entrance, but coming out, everyone's boards were in different parts of the field. So the people who had the field closer to the entranceway had the first opportunity to place their disc.
Right.
David's was right at the entranceway, which is why I was blocking him. It was nothing personal towards David. He was moving pretty quick, and he had the shortest route. So I was trying to block him, and I was trying to so that Danny could to finish his thing. And Danny was in the back row. Danny was in the back row. I was in the back row. I think Tyson was in the back row, and maybe even Ben.
So y'all had a further journey to place your pieces.
Correct.
So, and that's another.
I would say by about 30, 40 yards.
So, and that's another difference between the challenge and Survivor, in that everything is absolutely fair in Survivor.
Yeah. But I will say this: where you get placed on the field was a random draw.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's not like they came out and assigned it.
But would you also say for David, a disadvantage is because his is so closer. If somebody wanted to block it, it would make it extremely easier to block him than.
Well, that's what I did.
I mean,
well, but yeah, it's a disadvantage to have to run further, but it's also a disadvantage to be closer.
To have it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, I will be the first to tell you, my blocking David had nothing to do with Danny winning. In other words,
to do with you blocking and getting back up there so you can get more things, or what?
No, in other words, I didn't know if it would have an effect. I'm just going to do the best I can.
Okay.
I'm saying the result, Danny winning, was not because I prevented David from winning first.
Got you.
Danny was in and out of that place like you never seen. Moving. So at the last disc, me and Danny are crossing each other on the field, and I go, David's only got one more disc. Make sure you block him. And Danny goes, I already got the last one, bro.
Wow.
And I think you hear that in the episode. It's so great. And I turn around and I see he won, and I go, yeah. And that, like from anyone's point of view outside of mine, you got to be asking yourself, why would you want Danny to win and get into the final?
But that's your boy.
But I know, like, obviously I don't play this game well enough. Like, I keep taking the best people to the end.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Why I keep doing that?
I ain't mad at it.
Wow. But here's the beauty of it. Like, two of my closest boys won. I know that sounds like, oh, way to cover up the fact. Like, I'm genuinely distraught I didn't win. There's who would deny that? Especially when you come so close. I can't help it. To this day, I had a conversation with someone a while back about you winning. I had a few drinks in me, so I was getting a little emotional with it. I just remember saying, like, I love that man. I'm so happy he won. Like, good for him. If it wasn't me, I'm so happy it was him. And that's how I feel sometimes. I get wrapped up in relationships out there. And like I said, he's had my back the whole time out there, and I know it could cost me the money. I don't give a shit. I'm going with you. I said I'm going with you. I'm going with you.
That says. Oh, you were saying?
No.
Oh, I was just to speak to our friendship, Dom. I don't know if you remember this one, but there were some times at Tribal Council that I thought I was out of there, and I distinctly remember one time me either saying to you, hey, my idol is in my bag,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. If they get me, just reach in there and get that thing.
Yeah.
That's how close we were out there. That, like, I didn't play my idol knowing I was going to go home, but my boy was about to have my idol somehow, some way.
It's sick. It's sick.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with, like, if you're self-aware enough, but not only self-aware, but super aware of your surroundings and can feel the vibe of someone fairly quickly, that will dictate a lot about how you play your game. So in other words, I went into this game thinking I was going to link up with Tyson. I've spent time with him out of the game at your charity event, right? Your guys had that charity event in Philly. I was in Reno with him. We had a great night. Me, him, Boston, Rob, Kellen. Yeah, we played blackjack. I got drunk. But we had a good time and we had a lot of fun. And I don't know why I imagined I was going to walk into this game kind of having I didn't call Tyson ahead of time. He didn't call me. We didn't reach out. I just assumed I was going to walk in. Him and I were going to be like, we're good. We're good. And immediately in the first conversation I had with him, I didn't feel the vibe. I was like, something's not going to happen here. And I don't know. I don't know. And I could tell you what I think it, I could only theorize. I don't know.
Right.
But I do know that he had some type of issue with Sarah and Ben coming into the game. And I'm not sure if perhaps he thought I had some relationship with them. Okay. So maybe he would have been cautious to make sure not to give me too much info that I can share with Sarah and Ben. Okay.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, I think that's the only explanation I could come up with. But then it developed into some other thing where he said he started this philosophy on he's only working with other winners and telling the winners who had their qualifying money that if we don't put our own in, like we only put into elimination someone that doesn't have the money, we're going to protect ourselves.
Right.
And I'm sure, and in theory, that sounds like a great way to play it.
When you have money,
he's delusional to think it was accurate, though, because in the driving challenge, he told me after, he said, if you and Kayla didn't win that, you were going into elimination. And I'm thinking in my head, well, the next people that would have won was Danny and Justine. There's no way they were throwing me and Kayla into elimination. So Tyson, your system was good, but it wasn't perfect. You know
what he said about it? He said he found a way to break the algorithm.
I don't know what that means.
He said that it does like this. Okay, fine. There's an algorithm, but if the players that have money are protecting each other, then okay, y'all can pair whoever with whoever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
That was his way around the algorithm per se.
Got you. I mean,
sorry, I listened too much to his podcast.
Yeah, it's okay. Really?
I listen to all the podcasts.
I understand. No, you should listen to his too.
I try to get
the Tyson Tyson fandom podcast. If you love listen, if you love Tyson, it's the best podcast to listen to.
So
just straight up.
I got a question for you. You mentioned a couple other players just now. You mentioned Tyson could have been feeling just wary about your relationship with Ben and your relationship with Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about those relationships or not talk about those relationships in the house? Or
so coming into the game, I saw Ben in the airport and I was pumped to see him. I did not know he was going to be out there. And Ben and I had a friendship going into the game. And he was a real good friend to me at one point, earlier, like a year or two back, for something I was dealing with, and he talked me through some stuff. And I'm forever grateful for that. There was a lot of confusion in the house with the Tyson Ben Sarah stuff. I didn't know what was going on. But the amount of shit talking they would do about each other, but then to see them talking with each other would make any outsider think you're being played. So here's the dynamic that developed very early on in the house. The 6 other survivors that didn't win and weren't on 40 got together and said, we don't know what's going on with those 3. So why don't the 6 of us keep each other in the loop and make sure that this is our onion, and they could be on the outer layer of the onion, but this is the core of the onion, you know? Right. But inside that core of the onion was Danny, Desi, and Dom.
Okay. Yeah.
The real core of the onion. The real core of the onion. So there was the 6 of us and then those 3. Now, I don't know if what happened was possibly that there were a moment here or there where Ben may have seen the 6 of us discussing things, and never things just like, you know, when you just need a powwow, guys, what's going on? If you heard anything, what's your take on this? What's your take on that? I mean, at this point, it was Survivor versus Big Brother versus Amazing Race versus Love Island. It wasn't Survivor versus Survivor.
Right.
But again, we felt more comfortable, the 6 of us, kind of confiding in each other. So we would share information with each other about this and that. I think Ben may have observed one of these conversations, and he developed a theory that the non-survivor winners were going to take a shot at the survivor winners. There's absolutely zero truth to that. That was never a plan. That was never discussed. But sometimes, and I'm guilty of doing it myself, when you plant a seed, an idea seed in your head, it can fester into something real. And I think it festered into something real for him, because I think how I heard was that he was kind of on this train that the 6 of us were maybe thinking. Here's another scenario. I don't want to speak for Ben. I'd rather you get his take on it. I don't really know what he was thinking, but if I had to guess, this is where the clash of Dom and Ben began, because I approached him about it and said, Ben, I heard that you think that we're like, I'm like, that's not accurate. Like, let's just stop that theory. But he's the type of guy that won't be had. It's very similar to me and Noble, right? Me and Noble, we had this moment in the beginning where we butt heads. We tried to make the peace, but neither one of us wanted to let our guard down because we didn't want to be made a fool of by the other person. That's what happened on Survivor with Chris Noble, and that's what happened here with Ben and I. We now developed a situation where there's friction. We want to regroup. You can see we both want to regroup, but neither of us want to be made a fool of by the other person. So there's this constant tension between him and I throughout the entire season. It doesn't make him or I wrong here. It just was, again, this clash of personalities, like the way Cash and I, where we both just saw this game through different lenses and couldn't come together a lot of the time. And a lot of stuff happened with Ben and I, but I don't want to go there because I believe Ben's a good dude and we had our troubles out there and we haven't rectified them. I'm not saying we have, and I hope we do one day. I'm open to it. You know, I don't hold grudges if you haven't noticed. But whatever happened with Ben and I happened. And as far as I'm concerned, I left that in Argentina. You know what I mean?
Ben's a friend of the show. You got anything to say to him?
Ben, I'm here, and maybe I'll reach out in a week or two. I'm cool. I'm cool, bro. Like I said, you were really good to me before the show. and I'm happy to reignite that candle. So we'll make that happen. I'm fine. I'll call. I'll reach out. I ain't afraid.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up.
And Sarah started off rough with me also because of the confusion, right? So here's what ends up happening. The elimination where Tyson throws Sarah in, where Tyson and Cash throw in Sarah and Leo. I didn't know shit. I was blind to it. But Tyson, in Tyson fashion, wanted to make sure that his ass was covered in case it backfired on him, and filled me in on this plan 5 minutes before we went to the arena. Okay? 5 minutes before we went in. And I'm like, what do I do with this information? And I'm like, I got to just shut up. Like, you got information, doesn't mean you're going to expose anything. Just shut up. It is what it is. You'll figure out what to do with this information later, but right now, just shut up. Like, there's nothing you can do. Tyson actually offered it to me in like a deal. Like, Dom, you know, I'm with you, but I got to do something you might not like. And I was like, Tyson, if it ain't me, I like it. Let's go. And he goes, all right, I may be putting in one of our own.
Wow.
And I go, I got no loyalty but to you and Danny. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So he said that, and whatever, we went about it. Now, Sarah is, again, one of those. So, all right. So she does the arena. She does the elimination. They win. Her and Leo come back. And I'm one of the first people at the stage to welcome her back into the game. And she comes up to me and says, did you know? And I go, nope. So she gives me a big hug, and she's like, you're my guy. And then she goes to the next person, Ben, you're my, you know, whatever. She hugs Ben, then me, whatever. So she hugged very select people, and she believed I was in her corner. Okay. Now I'm feeling terrible about this because as we get back to the house, and I know there's been confusion with Sarah, but the fact that Tyson threw her in now clarified so much. It made me know now that there wasn't confusion. It really was this battle between Tyson and Ben and Sarah. Tyson and Ben and Sarah. Again, it was confusing because they would talk shit about each other, but then have conversations with each other. So you don't know, like, are you playing me? I don't know what's going on.
That's crazy.
But this clarified it.
Yeah.
Sarah is telling me all this time, Tyson, you can't trust him. Tyson, you can't trust him. And now this really solidified what she's been saying the whole time. So now I feel like shit because now I'm like, she's right. And I don't want to play this game where I'm sitting under Tyson's wing the whole game. Like, I want to play hard. So a few days passes and we do a daily challenge and we go to the bar and I sit Sarah down on camera, but not televised. I said, Sarah, I got to come clean. I knew this thing happened 5 minutes before we went in. I didn't tell you. I just want you to know you can do what you want with me from here on out, but you're my sister out here. I confide in you. You're a comfort to me, and you do what you want. I feel better letting you know that I knew. And she was like, you did what you had to do, Dom. I ain't mad at you. I appreciate you telling me. And for the rest of the game, her and I were great. And I just felt like she was one of those people that I felt good around. The same way I felt that way with Danny and Desi. So outside of those three, I would say Sarah, Kayla, Justine, those three girls, like, just really brought, when you're having a lonely moment or whatever it is that you're missing home shit, all that nonsense you go through, like, those are the people you're comfortable around. Those are the people you feel good around. So that's what I got out of them.
Yeah.
So to me, that was a really important aspect of the game. And again, I was worried that Sarah was going to use that against me and be like, this is what you get for, betraying me, but she didn't, and we continued on and it worked out. So that's the relationship situation with those folk. Okay. And all right, so we did the eating challenge. We're now to the next leg.
This guy. Yeah.
Come on, let's finish this thing.
Yeah. So Dom, I was excited when you pulled up on this mound and you
wait, you're jumping ahead. Hold up.
go ahead.
So, all right. So now we've built up a sweat.
Right.
We've now consumed all these ingredients.
Mhm.
You know, some of us are releasing some of that garlic the best way we can. And look, again, these are not moments you expect to be televised, but they decided, let's fuck with Dom. And they got me good. So, all right. So now we finished the food. We're now at the next leg. And this is what now I have a new partner, Kayla. And we have to do this cog thing where you match up the whole thing. And they only showed the final part of it. There was actually the first halfway through the run, we had to do an equation. And then after that equation, we brought a different cog to the end and did a second final equation. But it was so skimmed over. What ended up really, what you guys missed was like, you're looking at like 2 hours of some of the craziest terrain. I'm talking about like, not like some of it was smooth and you're on a trail and you're walking it or you're running it, but then you had to leave the trail and go through terrain that required hands and feet to get up.
Wow.
Like, this is how grueling this next leg was. Steep hills and mountain and like, and they skimmed over that, and that's fine. The fact that this final was squeezed into a 1 hour episode is just a crime, an absolute crime in itself. When we were told that there was only 11, like we thought the whole time it was gonna be 11 episodes, the last one being the Alyssa elimination, and then a 2 hour final. I thought, okay, I could do that. And then for some reason, they compressed everything into these last 2 hours, and it's just criminal. Because even the MTV version gets a 2 hour finale. Yeah. Even that show gets a 2 hour finale. They should have given us just to show the elements. Because, all right, so we're sweating garlic, onion, and we're going up and down this mountain, and we're now drenched in sweat again. Okay. And we come to the bottom and we do this puzzle. And we solved this math problem and we all get through it. Justine had a hard time because she was solo. She times out. I know there's a lot of questions about why some people timing out and other people's not timing out. And we'll get to that. But we get to the end of this leg and there's a lot you guys didn't see what happens next. Two things. First of all, our guy Danny rolled his ankle. Okay. He had to have Angela tape up his ankle. Wow. So my guy finished this shit with a busted ankle. Okay. I'm going to tell you something else that's about to knock your socks off.
My socks are already off, Don.
At the end,
I'm comfortable over here. But tell me.
At the end of this leg, I started getting like heart palpitations. I started feeling like, whoa, what is going on? Now, this is something that's quite normal to sleep deprived, food deprived, overexerted people, you know?
Yeah.
But I had a little bit of that panic set in, that thing that lives inside me, that every once in a while, the anxiety gets the better of me. And I start feeling my chest and I'm like, it is beating really out of whack right now. Something's crazy. And I wasn't like scared or anything, but I'm like thinking to myself, I'm like, is this worth dying over? Like, maybe I should just shut this down right now. And I called it quits in that moment. I said, guys, I'm going to stop. I said, something ain't right over here. I got to shut this down. And they were like, oh, we're so sorry to hear that. But really, they're like, yes, more money in the pot. Dom's out. And I'm like, all right. I hugged everyone goodbye and I'm walking away. And there's an ambulance at the bottom of the hill waiting for me. They put me in the ambulance and I'm like, oh, and they got the cameras on me. And I'm like, can you get the cameras off me? Like, no way, bro. This is good stuff.
What?
And I'm in an ambulance hooked up to all sorts of shit. And these, Argentinian guys are in there and they look at me. They go, my friend, you smell really, really bad. They go, but Your vitals are perfect. Your heart rate is perfect. Your blood pressure is perfect. Everything looks good, my friend. And I go, for real? He goes, yup. I start pulling shit off. I go, put me back in, coach. Put me back in, coach. I'm going back in.
What?
So sure enough, I get out of the ambulance. And I didn't miss anything. Like, they were still waiting for Danny's leg to get, his ankle to get retaped and everything. And so, like, I didn't, like, stop the show or anything. Like, they did it fairly quick. And I literally pulled all the wires off me. I was like, put me back in, coach. I'm going back in. So now, like, the group thinks I'm out, and they're, like, calculating numbers in their head. Like, how much money's in the pot now?
Wow.
I walk back. I'm like, you ain't getting rid of me yet, bitches. I'm back. I'm back. They're like, what happened? I go, I'm fine. I said, I'm having a mental moment. I said, I'm good. I said, I ain't done yet.
You ain't just being a little beat.
Biggest mistake of my life. I should have stayed in that ambulance, got a good night's sleep. I went home and had wine with Enzo. But so I get out of the ambulance, we regroup, and now they're taking us to this field where this big mound of what you guys would call dirt. And Brice, you did a lot of work at my house last year, so
he didn't do that much work.
Listen.
All right. Well, Brice, that pile that you shoveled last year was 2 yards of bluestone. The pile we had was 7 or 8 yards of what's known as an item that we called RCA in the construction world. It's like a crushed concrete aggregate. Okay. So it's like concrete dust mixed in with stone. Okay. And it's a monster pile. What they didn't show you on the episode was that you see the pile surrounding this tall pole. At the bottom of the pile is a code. So this is where the Angela discussion starts, because is it fair what happened to Angela? As we approach this next leg, there's a sign that says you need to remove the dirt from the pole into that box over there, and then you need to bring all the dirt back. So you didn't know this part. You need to bring the dirt back from the box back to the pole so you could rebuild. So now, all right, you've taken the dirt, you've removed it, you've put it in the sandbox, which is like 25 yards away. You're wheelbarrowing it 25 yards, dumping it into this thing. And as you get to the bottom, you can see the 5-digit code. Okay. 3-digit code, whatever it is. Your goal is to find that and memorize it. While you're putting the dirt in the sandbox, there's lines on the inside of the sandbox. Your dirt has to be at that level. And I am not only a construction guy, like anyone that's done mulch at their house or any kind of gravel or whatever, you know what 5 yards looks like. Okay. But also what you don't realize is when you're at home doing your mulch, which is significantly lighter, by the way, especially when you wet concrete aggregate, what happens when you wet it in a rainstorm? It gets 10 times heavier.
Probably a little heavier.
Okay. But listen, these are things that no one's thinking about, but I am, because of my profession, but also even the yard work I do at home. When I get 10 yards of topsoil delivered, I don't use a short-handled flat shovel like they gave us for this challenge. I use a nice long handle pointy one so I can just step back, put my foot into it, and just do dumps and not destroy my back. They were like, no, this is the challenge, bro. We're giving you a short-handled flat shovel, and you're going to move 8 yards of RCA crushed concrete that's wet 25 yards into the sandbox, and you need to keep it hit this level line at the top. And I'm like, Sarah. So people are going in, switching, taking naps. And so imagine this. You're drenched. Okay. You've sweat. You've got garlic, onion. You're disgusting. And it's pouring rain. Okay. Now what they did was they put 4 tents up. They put 4 sleeping bags in the tent. They said, this is how it's going to work. The person that's working is working. the person in the tent is resting. They get the sleeping bag while the other person works. All right, in theory, that sounds great, you know? All right, Tara, you take a nap for an hour, I'll work, and then I'll come in and switch. So we try that. We do like 30-minute shifts. Sarah takes all her clothes off, gets into the nice warm sleeping bag, comes out, and then has to redress herself. And now I'm working, and it's not quite raining at this point. And I go in to the tent, and I'm like, I ain't taking all this shit off. I'm sticky. There's nothing worse than taking wet clothes off. It's putting them back on, right? So I'm like, you know what, bro? Just lay down, close your eyes. If you're this tired, you'll fall asleep. I lay down. I didn't fall asleep for shit. I was like, screw this. I'm like, I come back out, half hour passed. I'm like standing by the fire, just trying to keep warm. I'm like, all right, Sarah, I'm going to go. I said, and listen, I can't sleep. So if you want to go hit 2 hours, go bang it out. I have no problem. I feel good. This is what I do. I'm good with a wheelbarrow and a shovel. I'll bang this. And she's like, hell no, bro. We're in this together. She goes, you ain't sleeping. I ain't sleeping. And I'm like, God damn, I love that. So she's like, here's what we'll do. 20-minute shifts. You go by the fire. I'll go by the fire. You're not allowed to help each other. Here's the problem. You have to be away from each other. That's part of the rules. Yep. So I go, all right. I said, great. We're going to just power through this thing. No one's going to rest. We're just going to stay up and do this thing through the whole night. And then if we get done quick enough, we'll have a few hours to sleep. I said, because I'm not taking wet clothes on and off. So now an hour or two goes by, and now it starts raining, and it's fucking pouring rain, and we're all drenched and miserable. And again, I didn't sleep from the night before, and this is the next day, the overnight challenge, where typically in past challenges, I think they give some reprieve where they kind of put you in a cave and let you sleep, even though there's bats and shit flying around. At least you get some break. Where this is no break over. Again, I'm not saying this was nastier than the MTV version. I'm just saying this was a tough thing to get through. So we're ripping through this thing, and she's killing it, and I'm killing it. And this is like my moment where I'm really shining. You know, I'm feeling really good. I'm like, I can't wait for this to air on TV. All my work buddies are going to be like, look at Dom doing what he does best, you know. And what do? They show me standing by the fire getting warm while Sarah is working her ass off. And I'm just standing there going, I don't think I could finish. I'm so cold. Meanwhile, it was like me and Sarah were like, yo, there's a CrossFit workout. We're just not stopping till the shit ends. This is a WOD. We're going to turn this into a WOD. And we were killing it, like absolutely killed it, to the point where, now listen, it was so late by the time we got the sandbox filled that we called for a judgment, like a judge to come in and say, oh, we good? Did we fill this thing up enough? And they're like, yeah. And they're looking at everyone else's progress at this point, and they're like, this is never going to happen.
Wow.
This is never going to happen. So what ends up happening is we're emptying ours, and we're flying. Like, we almost have our entire sandbox empty. Now, the reason it has to go back to the pole is because that 5-digit code that we memorized earlier, there's a lock at the top of the pole. You can't get to that lock unless your pile is high enough to stand on and then undo the lock with the code. So this is where it gets a little sketchy with the Angela rule. Because without the code, you ain't getting the code to get. And what was in the bag at the top of the pole were the Sudoku numbers that you need for the end of the final.
Okay. All right.
So does that change things a little bit? I think it might.
Yes. So go ahead.
But especially you're feeling while you're breaking your ass that there's some people in the tent getting beauty rest. And you're like, is this fair? What's going on here? I understand her logic. I'll take fourth in this. Other people have taken fourth for not completing it. Even Angela and I in the first leg, we didn't finish the slide puzzle. We timed out. I understand her logic. If I were her, though, I would have gotten confirmation before going to bed on that. I would have said, what happens if I do this? And if they said we can't answer that, I'd say I ain't going to bed tonight. I'm putting the work in. So that's where I stand with that. So Sarah and I finished that. We get first place for that. We got our first place points, and I'm feeling all right. So now we get to go in the tent. Now we don't know what time it is. We know it's pouring rain. It's been pouring for hours. We're drenched, and we finish. And the production team comes in and basically says, again, I don't think this is an issue for me to say this, but basically there was no way anyone else was going to finish it the way Sarah and I did. So they basically said, Tyson and Kayla are next in progress. Danny and Justine, and then Angela. And we came to an agreement that that's the order that will place everyone at this leg. I didn't love it because I just killed myself. And now they're giving this away to the other two teams. And yeah.
Yeah, that's my question, Dom. You guys killed yourselves.
Yeah.
Tyson, go kill yourself now. Danny, go kill yourself now. Like I'm the guy things. I'm the most out of shape
guy here. And I finished that shit.
Yeah, I finished it. Nah. Y'all
that's on me. That's my bad.
Out of here.
That's my bad. Right? That's on me. I could have said, I could have spoke up. I could have spoke up. I could have spoke up. You know what I was thinking? I was thinking, get me the fuck out of here. Like, I don't even care. Like, this shit is over. Yeah. Who won next? Tyson got second. Danny got third. Whatever. Where's the tent?
And you just smoked them. So it's like,
yeah. And I felt good. Yeah. But again, I was just getting warmed by the fire, not doing shit.
You're not doing that. Do you feel like if Angela would have got up that morning, though, right? Say Angela would have got up that morning.
This is something my wife asked me this morning.
And just was like, let me just do a little shovel. Do you think they would have eliminated her?
My wife, Kristen, asked me, she said, well, if once Angela heard that she's been eliminated, why couldn't she just say, well, let me do it now then? And let the rest of the people move on to the next leg. Mm. And the reason I think is that that was the end of day one in their eyes. And now day two is beginning. And day two requires us to relocate. And how are they going to relocate us and film 6 people now who are about to run up a mountain? And how many camera crews do you have available to get all these people at different perspectives on the mountain? They didn't have the availability to sit there and leave a camera crew and a production team with Angela while the rest of us started the hike. You know what I'm saying?
Did she have any pushback, Angela?
Did she give a stink about it?
Yeah.
She really didn't. Basically what you saw, I think, was her reaction. Unless, I was delusional at that moment.
Right.
Because what happens is we went in the tent. It was nighttime. Again, I have no idea what time it was that we went in the tent. And we go in there, and at this point, like, people have claimed their sleeping bags. But now all 7 of us are in the tent. And I'm still in my trench clothes. Danny's still in his trench clothes. And literally Danny and I just lie in the tent, full wet gear. Everyone else is taking shit off, hanging it up and getting in the sleeping bag. And I'm like, I just can't fathom putting this shit back on. Yeah. There's another thing you don't see. And this is another reason why people think I shit my pants is at the end of the wheelbarrow challenge, as we're walking to the tent, I'm walking as if I have a dump in my pants. But in actuality, what happened was I am so wet and chafed that I have a rash on the inside of my leg, like the size of a baby's arm. Bro, I'm not kidding. It was disgusting. When I finally unclothed and saw this thing, I think I showed it to some of the other cast members. They will confirm this was the grossest thing ever. It was like purple, like this big on the inside of my leg. So now we all go in the tent, And TJ opens up the tent and he goes, woo, I never smelled anything like that. And yeah, 7 of us were giving off garlic and who knows what else in that confined tent. So we talked about that. That's where that foul stink came from. And now you have to begin. Angela gets eliminated. And again, we're like, wow, that sucks. And at the same time, we're like, that's $35K just went in the bank. Oh shit. Bye, Ange. See, it is. That's just the way it is. That's the competitive in you. You're like, I got to pay the family. That's all that matters. So it did suck for her. But again, I can only speak for what I wouldn't have went to bed. I'll leave it at that. Or I would have made sure I can go to bed and forfeit that challenge and say, I'll take last place points. I would not have went to bed without asking first. So I think that's her only real fault, was not confirming that information before hitting the sack.
On Tyson's pod, he said something to the effect that like maybe she started shoveling and she was like,
she did start.
I can't do this.
She did work for maybe 45 minutes, I'd say.
So Dom, my question is, can't that be her starting her first leg and then going?
Especially the fact that not everyone finished.
Yeah. So I don't
know.
Now,
I mean, anyone in a normal situation would have argued that for her. But again, we're like, we want her 35 grand. So we ain't saying shit.
Right.
You're gonna let her go.
Any notable Tyson reactions to her being sent away?
I don't know. No, I'm sure he was like probably a little bit. I don't think he was that stunned. I think he saw that it was going to be we all kind of thought it was a strong possibility. And the reason why we thought that is because we were asked about it while we were doing our shovel challenge. We had a little like, what do you think of Angela sleeping while you guys are working? We're like, yeah, that's bullshit. So we knew that there were going to be some repercussions when TJ showed up the next morning. We just didn't know what those repercussions were. We didn't know if maybe she's going to have like a 20-minute, delay versus everyone else starting. We just didn't know, but the fact that she went home, none of us were mad at it because it just meant more money in the bank.
Nice. I find that TJ is leaning into being more this like evil, sinister.
That's how he always is. Yeah.
I feel like it's getting more and more like, I'm going to laugh when I have to throw y'all off a building. I'm going to laugh when you guys, are going through it.
Well, I think that, I could just tell you from my own kids' reaction in practicing, like, in other words, following up on previous seasons of the challenge with the kids to get an understanding of the game better. Every time TJ had a devious laugh or, put someone through hell, they thought it was the best. They were like, TJ's the best when he does that. Look at his laugh. He's the best. So I think that is an obvious thing. That's why he's going to continue to host the show, because he's TJ,
Yeah.
And listen, let me tell you something. TJ plays favorites.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like TJ will tell the entire group who he thinks is a badass. And when he doesn't say your name, you're like, that little kid that didn't get picked in kickball all over again. Like, what the fuck, TJ? I ain't on your list.
Were you on his list?
No, no, I was not. Yo, and at the end of the final, I'm getting a consolation prize out of this bullshit. TJ's like walking right by me. I'm like, yo, TJ, I'm like, do me a favor, grab your phone, take a selfie, me and you. I'm literally like in a blanket from like after the final, like in a blanket. I'm like, just take the picture, bro. And he takes it. And I just texted him like 2 days ago. I'm like, yo, bro, you still got that picture? Like, yeah, like I haven't heard back from him.
Yeah.
Like, no, he texted me like, yeah, I'll look into it. And then like nothing. I'm like, that motherfucker deleted that photo 5 minutes after I left. I wasn't one of his favorites.
This quitter.
Yeah, exactly. Probably. He probably was like, this guy's a quitter. Fuck him. I ain't saving that picture.
He seems really cool though.
Oh yeah. Just like I said, unlike Probst, while you're waiting to do something and he's there, he's not like hiding in a trailer. He's hanging out. He's shooting the shit with you. He's talking about whatever he can talk to you about. And that's like so nice because it adds to the experience, right?
Yeah.
Like the same thing, like when you're doing Survivor, going through casting and sitting down with Jeff Probst for the first time and like holy shit, like that's part of the experience, is meeting these people who create the show and do the show. So meeting TJ and having like just completely laid back conversations with him, it's like, this is weird, but it's pretty cool at the same time, you know. So I just consider that as part of the experience and something I appreciated so much, the fact that he was just so chill with us. So
when you got back home, did you get any slack from any particular person in your house? Like, why does all America know who Kiki is? And
well,
what about me?
What about me?
Let me just tell you something right now. I blame my shit edit on my wife. And the reason I say that is because she busted production's balls every day. Like on Survivor, we don't get to talk to our loved ones. You know what I mean? Until you get to the loved one's visit, if that happens for you. But this, we get these calls twice a week. And so she would be in communication with the person who coordinated those calls. And she would be like, you got to tell my husband, blah, 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 or this and that, and this and that, and let him know this, and all this shit. And they were like, bro, your wife is killing us. She is exhausting us. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm like, yo, try living with her, bro. You have no idea. You know? So, like, Kiki had Danny's back. Danny, I love the challenge. You're going on the challenge. Go win the challenge. Right? So she was a part of his story because she was part of the support system. Kristen, the same on Survivor. Where you going? You going on a beach with a bunch of young hot girls? I ain't signing off on this. Babe, please, once in a lifetime experience. Fine. I ain't liking it though. Go, but you don't have my approval. All right. So then we go and do it, whatever. This same thing. So you're going to be living in a house in Argentina. This is just after watching like Challenge All-Stars, where they're in, I think, Panama, living in a mansion with a big ass pool, and everyone's got their tight little bikinis on. And Mara's like, that's where you're going? I'm like, babe, look at me. No one wants me. Look at me. I'm just there to win the money. I'm there. It's a job. I'm there for the money. I don't care about that's all just noise. That's just noise. I ain't looking at those girls. I'm not interested in that. So I blame her for why they got me shitting my pants on national TV. It's her, Kristen.
Wasn't she hitting up the Survivor producers or Caitlin or something while we were out there?
She knew she was on. She's just on people like, this isn't normal. Married people don't stop talking to their husbands 3 weeks at a time. This ain't normal. I gotta talk to my husband.
Now, Dom, for the listeners that might not have seen you on Survivor, didn't Kristen give you some advice on Ghost Island when she came out to visit you?
Yeah, she said, she said, you can't go to the end with Wendell. He's going to beat you if he's anything like his father. Because my wife being a loved one and your father was the loved one that you had out there, they, as a group, the group of them spent time together before the actual loved one moment. So they had dinner together, breakfast, lunch, dinner. They did events. They did like activities and shit together. And my wife got to know Wendell Sr. over the course of a few days. And when I saw her, she said, who you work with? I said, Wendell. She goes, oh, no. If he's anything like his father, you're done. She goes, he's the nicest, most charismatic man I've ever met. I go, yeah, that's kind of what I'm dealing with. So she told me like 3 eliminations before our final, don't work with Wendell. He's going to beat you. And I was like,
needed each other.
I go, babe, but you don't know. You don't know how we need each other. And I got it. I got this. Anyway. So we get out the tent. No more Angela. We start this 10-mile trek up the mountain. And this is grueling uphill. It starts very vicious terrain, but then turns into a very steep dirt road for a lot of the way, right? Now, here's what I want to like. I wish more than anything. Like halfway through. So now we're walking uphill 5 miles, which is hours. You guys have seen 10 seconds of it. It's hours. And in the beginning of it, so here's what they say. So I believe we're at a national park in Patagonia, because this is a trail that we're about to do that is, I believe, known in the national park arena. And how we know that is that there's markings on specific trees. So if you've ever taken a hike in the woods in a designated hike area, you know that if there's a green spray paint on the tree, you're on the right path. You're on that trail. So the producer said, look, you're following this red dot with a white circle around it. It looks like a bullseye almost. Just follow that. That's what you're looking for. So we start, and it starts with Danny and Tyson taking off and me with the girls, because I do remember also when we got out of the tent before we started this leg after Angela got eliminated, I remember asking, I go, wait a second. I said, you prepped us with clothes yesterday because you wanted to make sure we were dressed properly for the occasion, for what we were about to do. I said, but you just saw, we just worked in the pouring rain. You know that we're drenched. Certainly you have a change of clothes for us. And they were like, yeah, no shot, buddy. You're wearing what you've been wearing since this thing started. And I'm like, bro, but you don't know how bad this rash is. It's really bad. You got baby powder. You got something, because I don't know how I'm going to do 10 miles up a mountain. And literally the skin it's like opening, like an open wound. That's how bad it's getting. And I go, okay. They say, no, you got to wear the same clothes. And I tell myself, Dom, you're not in pain. You're just uncomfortable. It's going to be over soon. It's going to be over soon. Just deal with it. So I went to my chi again. I found that thing where I was like, I'm going to just do it. I don't care. Then I go, but surely you're going to give us breakfast. The only thing we've eaten in 24 hours was onion and garlic. Certainly, with the amount of calories we've just burnt and the amount of calories we're about to burn, walking up a 10-mile steep ass, wild, crazy terrain mountain. Certainly you got something. They gave us a small apple and one single serving size of trail mix. And that was it. Okay. So again, I'm giving you detail because this all plays into this final moment, is that you need to know the suffering that we went through. Again, Danny suffered too. Sarah suffered too. I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm explaining where I broke down. Okay. How I broke down. So now we start the next day, barely fed, still drenched. I start with the 3 girls. Tyson and Danny move up ahead. And out of nowhere, I get like a little wind. And I say, ladies, I'm going to just jump ahead of you guys and just see how much steam I got. And I start moving out of nowhere. It's like this reserve tank I had. I don't know where it came from, but it was there. So I start making progress. And I catch up to Danny, but not Tyson. I said, oh shit, there's Danny. Okay. All right. Not too bad. And now we're on the trail. And for whatever reason, Danny goes right and I go left. And Danny gets lost. And now I'm on the right trail because I know I start seeing those bullseye marks. I'm like, I'm good. Danny's lost. I'm good. And that's why you'll see I pull up to Tyson at that first puzzle where we're putting those pieces in. You see me get there before Danny because Danny got lost, not because I outran Danny.
Okay.
So he got lost he got off track, and he finally figured it out and then came and caught up, and then we continue on. This is the one thing I wish, if I could make one swapperoo. I wish that at this point, the Sudoku was waiting there. Because I believe every one of us that were there are capable of figuring out what to do in a Sudoku. Like for those of us that didn't know what to do in a Sudoku.
When you're not freezing.
Right. Like I was still good enough where like it was definitely chilly.
Yeah.
But I had a nice sweat worked up. I'm like, I mean, I was even at that block puzzle for probably 10, 15 minutes. And I wasn't like, oh, I'm dying.
Yeah. You're still with it.
I'm still with it. The mind's still there. I'm still good. So the Sudoku, I feel like if they would have put that there, they would have had a better result for the show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I think for the show, I don't think it was good for the show that only 2 people finished. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they could care less. Who knows? But it seemed to me that they wished more people would have crossed the finish line.
Okay.
So like I said, I wish the Sudoku was there because I think all of us, even though it would have taken us time, we would have figured it out. And maybe, just maybe, there would have been a timeout moment down at the bottom. You know, because there was a timeout moment for Sarah at that puzzle who couldn't complete that block puzzle. So I feel like the right way to have done that was put the Sudokus down there. And for the people that don't know how to do Sudokus, fine. You gave it a shot, but you couldn't figure it out. An hour has passed. Continue on.
Yeah.
That to me would have made more sense, but I'm not writing the show. So we do what we do. And now we continue on. Now, as we're going up the hill, the trail marker just stops. And you're running through the trail. Like you would see another red dot to let you know you're on the right trail at least every 20 to 30 yards. But for some reason, like 100 yards in, this dot is nowhere to be found. And it's not just for me. It's for all of us. Tyson said the same thing. I said this, all of us. And we're all like in this panic mode, all by ourselves at our own individual stage of getting to this part where there's no indicator of if we're in the right spot or not. And you're asking yourself, holy shit, like I just trekked up this mountain at least 100 yards. Am I in the right spot? Should I turn around and go back?
Wow.
Or put your faith in the fact that this red dot will show up again at some point? Like I don't remember seeing any fork to the right or fork to the left. What am I doing wrong right now? And you're constantly having this battle with yourself and you're smoked, like you're completely depleted of all nutrients in your body. The one good thing is they gave us electrolytes in our water pack. So I was just sucking electrolytes down because you would have died without them easily. Yeah. Anyway, I had my faith in it and eventually came back onto the path. And I was like, all right, thank God I found this spot. And I'm still keeping a good pace. Tyson's in the lead, Danny in second, me in third, and the girls are behind, and I don't know in what order. And out of nowhere, you see in the episode, this is like, I'd say a couple of 100 yards before we get to the Sudoku, Justine pops up out of nowhere. And she's like, I'm like, holy shit. Like I've been looking behind me and not seeing anyone for the longest time. And you just showed up. So she ends up like picking up steam. Now this last trek, this last few 100 yards as we're approaching now, at this point, it's full blown snowing. Every step you take is in an icy, wet puddle. And we're, you know, there's no waterproof, like your feet are drenched. Your body's drenched. You're actually at some point walking through streams like up to almost just below your knees in ice cold freezing water. And now I'm at the point these last 200 yards leading up to the Sudoku area. And again, not thinking there's a Sudoku. I'm thinking this is the end. I think all of us thought like we did that one puzzle down there. Where's the finish line? And I remember I'm walking and I have no shot at winning. I'm like, for my family, I got to cross this finish line and come back with something. And I'm walking and I feel my body breaking down in this last 200 yards. And I know that because Justine just breezed right past me. And I'm like, there's no way she should be like just completely breezed. I'm now at the point where I'm like one step, like that's how hard this last 200 yards was for me to get to the Sudoku. I was completely depleted of every ounce of energy, and it's 2 days, no food, no sleep, completely exhausted, completely drained. And I now walk up to this thing that if I was in a warm environment with warm clothes and hot cocoa, and you put it in front of me and you gave me 20 minutes, I'll figure it out. I'm smart enough to know. But you put us in an environment where you don't know how to do it, and you're trying to use your brain power to stop yourself from quitting. Never mind put your brain power into figuring out how to do this thing. And you're standing there having this battle with yourself. And I remember telling myself, I was probably staring at it for like 15, 20 minutes. Again, no gloves at any point. I took my gloves off on the wheelbarrow challenge the night before and never found them again.
Wow.
So the entire wheelbarrow challenge into the next day, all day, no gloves. I think maybe Tyson, no glove. I don't know. But you can see as we're trying to hold the pieces and fan them out, like just complete breakdown of the body. Now, I'm not saying Danny didn't feel that same pain or Sarah, but I think when you walk up to something and know how to do it, you can will yourself to just be like, bro, you know how these work. You got this. You've done these before, as opposed to willing yourself to learn how to do it in a situation where you're completely done.
And you're also pulling up on, so Danny was what, second or third to it?
Tyson got there first. He probably could have been there for a good 20, 30 minutes. And then maybe Danny got there maybe after the 20-minute mark.
Yeah.
And then I got there maybe 10, 15 minutes later, let's say. I don't know. I have no way of really knowing that. I'm guesstimating. And just so when I got there, actually, Justine was there too, just getting started. But Danny, here's another component to why I started leaning towards quitting. And this is I got out pokered here. I'm just going to say it straight up. All three of them were shuffling those numbers around like they knew what they were doing. Which now made me super discouraged and started to take a toll on me mentally. Like, these three are figuring this thing out. So, like, Justine, like, oh yeah, okay, wait, oh, let me just move this one here. And Tyson's over there, like, I think I got it. Like, I hear him talking to himself. I think I got it. Wow. And Danny's just not saying shit. He's just like, and putting numbers into place. And all three of them just seemed like they knew what they were doing. And I'm staring at my hands with 25 numbers in my hands, shaking, going, bro, what's wrong with you? How come you don't know how to do this? Yeah. And I just start having this battle with myself. And here's what's weird. It just came to us, like, from the viewer, it just came to an end. Like, what is that? Like, what a weird way to end. Four of you just standing there. And I would attribute that to the fact that I don't believe production was expecting that to happen. Because there were not enough people there to record all of our own setbacks we were each having. Where I was having my own setback, and they didn't show that. They just showed me standing there saying, I'm done. I'm standing here. I'm done. But really, there was this mental back and forth where I'm talking to myself and I'm like, I don't know. And again, I don't know if it's because time was limited to pack all this into a 1-hour final. But all of us had our own breakdown moment. And again, it was missed. You didn't get to see us kind of talk about why it's not working out on our own individual, for our own individual reasons. And that to me is that's sad. Like, I mean, it's sad that we didn't finish it, but it's also, it just seems so cut short. So
that breakdown,
yeah, like there was no, it was just like, bye, like, you guys are out.
That's bad.
Yeah. So that to me was odd.
Do you think that they weren't ready for all of this weather like
Yeah.
taking.
And I know that
the hell out of you guys.
I know that because I want to be careful how I say this, but when I quit because my body, I was in a danger mode. I was in like, I am in hypothermic shock right now, and I need to get out of these clothes in the next 5 minutes. I need a hot cup of soup. I need a blanket. I need to be out of this situation now. It's DEFCON 3. Like I need someone to save me.
Yeah.
You know that because I'm not quitting anything unless that's how serious the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where your entire body is trembling and you're like, am I experiencing real hypothermia right now? You know?
Yeah.
So when I quit, you see me standing there waiting for that. Where's that tent?
Yeah.
Y'all have the tent, right? Where's the hot cocoa? And there was nothing. There was no tent. There was no hot cocoa. There was a couple of people that they hired with like a beat up pickup truck. Like they didn't even know what to do with us.
They thought y'all were going to get to the end.
They didn't know what to do with us. It was me, Tyson, Kayla, Justine, and we were sitting in some dude's 1984 pickup truck that had no heat. Kayla gets in the truck after us because the three of us quit. Then Kayla rolls up. She goes into hypothermic shock. I think, she's like trembling, crying in the truck. Oh my God. Like, what is happening to me? I can't stop shaking. Like, we were honestly worried for a moment there.
Wow.
That like, holy shit. And here's the problem. We were 9 miles up and it's been snowing. So even that pickup truck has to take that dirt road down that we ran up. And that dirt road is on the side of a cliff. Like we're circling a mountain. So some of the drop off the side of the road goes. And when the guy in the truck says, I'm taking you guys back down to the bus to get you guys warm, we're like, great, let's go. And as we start going, the truck starts like sliding in the snow. I'm like, bro, you know what? I'm going to walk down. Because I want to live. So they let me out. And they they let me out.
You actually did?
Wait. So they let me out. They start cruising down. And I'm like walking through a icy creek again. And I'm like, yo, come back for me. I don't care if I die. Get me out of here. So I end up getting back in the car with them.
You're ridiculous.
But think about how long that ride down to the bottom of a mountain in icy, snowy, wet conditions, like in really bad terrain. And that ride back to base camp was an hour and a half.
Jeez.
So we sat in this cold truck with this guy. Here's what it is. He had heat, right? Me and Tyson would try to explain this to the guy. He had heat, but his windshield kept fogging up.
Yeah.
So he goes, I have to turn on the cold air to get the fog off the window. We go, no.
You could just
put the warm air on it and that will clear it. He goes, no, bro, you don't know. So he would put the cold air on it and it would make it worse. And he kept wiping it with a rag. And now it's just wet. And I'm like, why doesn't he just turn the hot air on? And he don't care. He's fine. He got his snow cap on. This guy, he's warm. Like, just get us down this mountain.
Oh my God.
We finally get down this mountain. They put us on a bus with heat and they finally give us soup and everything we need. And luckily, nothing ended up that serious. But in the moment, you are really contemplating how serious the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. You don't know. Like, am I going to do long-term damage? And is that long-term damage worth it? What I'm doing right now. You know what I mean? So that's what I personally dealt with. I don't know what the other people dealt with. I believe Danny and Sarah were suffering just as miserably as we were. But I believe if you know how to do something, you could at least will yourself through the pain to finish the task that you at least know how to complete.
Yeah.
And for that reason is why they won, and, like I have like family members like, that's not fair. Like, you don't know how to do Sudoku. I'm like, what? You got it. You need to know shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Enzo don't know how to swim.
Right.
Right.
So, right.
Yeah.
It's not knowing how to do Sudoku as bad as the person that comes to play this game doesn't know how to swim.
However, swimming, you would assume, is on the challenge before the Sudoku. And in a puzzle thing, you should, if you ask me, you should know what the goal of the puzzle should be.
The instructions.
There should be some kind of instructions if you ask.
Yeah, the instructions said finish the pattern.
Yeah, nah.
I will admit this. There was a point where I said to myself, I'm looking at the board. But I was looking at the board as a whole board. Like in a Sudoku, there's 9 individual boxes inside the one big box.
Yep.
I was looking at it like this is what I came up with. I said, I think what I need to do here is I need to make sure that there can't be the same number in a row and a column. I have to figure out a way to make sure that there's not enough numbers in every row and every column.
And you didn't know the boxes as well.
I didn't know. Yeah, I wouldn't have known that individually, each individual box also needed that rule.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So just looking at the board as a whole, I'm going, oh my God, this is going to take me an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And there's no way my body's going to make it that long.
Yep.
There's no way my body's going to make it that long. So that is my explanation for why and believe me, trust me, this hurt the worst is hearing my son, my 8-year-old boy, Vincent, literally like on the verge of tears that I didn't finish, like hugging me as we were watching it, hugging me and kissing my face and being like, Dad, why didn't you keep going, Dad? And like, I'm like, if they would have shown you what the hell I went through, you'd see that your dad doesn't just quit because it got tough. Yeah. Your dad quit because I wanted to make sure I come home to you. Wow. But that that whole thing with my kids that night, like watching the show, like I went into I got so bummed out for like a few days. Like I wasn't returning calls. I just was like, I don't want to talk to anyone, but I feel a lot better about it now. And like super, super blessed to have had the privilege. I still say that even though things didn't go great sometimes. And whatever happened to me. What I loved about this game in relation to Survivor is this, like, I'm going to come out with this one thing. And it happened multiple times, as I explained in this just now podcast, is that so many times in my regular life where I think I can't do something because I'm restricted for whatever reason, it's really us just making an excuse because it's uncomfortable, And what this game taught me was like how to push through discomfort and how not only pushing through discomfort, but like how that builds a layer of like badass on you. Because when you can go to the next thing and be like, shit, I don't know if I could do this, but you can go back and reference that one time you fought through this very uncomfortable time in your life and were able to get through it. You can now say, I did that. There's no way I can't do this. And that, to me, I know it sounds like kind of cheesy and a little cliche, but that is real to me. That is real to me because I, especially as you get older, like you're going to deal with shit. And just remember, most of the time, it's not as bad as it is uncomfortable.
Mind over matter.
Mind over matter is what this game was to me. Survivor is strategy. Survivor is talking a good game, picking and choosing when to do things, when not to do things. This game for me, mind over matter.
Yeah. Would you play again if Kristen let you?
I would need full blessing. I would need a few things written a little better,
A little
on
more
the
clear.
a little more clear in the contract stuff. Again, I'm fine. I'm good. I don't think anything affected my game. It is what it is.
Would you train differently? How would you train?
Oh
if
yeah.
it were to
First of
go
all,
down?
I would never go 2 months trained in. I'll say this. Seeing myself this season was a real eye opener for me. I couldn't believe how terrible I looked. And I know you guys are like, Dom, you look good. I appreciate that as friends, but let's be real. I did not look healthy out there. And I told myself, I can't believe I let myself go out there in that shape. And I'm not going to say immediately when I got back, I started training. I tried to keep some consistency. Me and Danny McCray always send ourselves our runs.
Yeah.
We have like the app, take a snapshot just to make sure that we're not getting too lazy with each other. So like, I'm like, I'll send him like a 5K and be like, all right, I gotta get up, gotta do some work today, and I love that we do that with each other. We still do that.
Accountability.
So yeah, accountability, absolutely. But the last few weeks I've really stepped it up, and my diet's been a lot tighter and this and that. And that's the one thing I want to come out of this. And I'm not training to go on a show again. I don't care about that. I'm training for longevity.
Mm.
I'm training to be at my kids' weddings. I'm training to prevent cancer. I'm training to prevent Alzheimer's. I want to be back to what I was once, not that long ago, So
Dom, I remember you saying, like, before you went, when you had your kids and stuff, how things changed, and you changed your lifestyle.
Oh yeah, I'm still nowhere near where I was then. I was 265, 270. Bad smoker, fucking bad. Dude, it was bad.
Yeah.
And I will never go back to that life where I'm just like eating uncontrollable shit all day, sitting in front of the TV, not caring about what my wife thinks of me. Like, my wife's hot to me, and
Chris is hot. Yeah, she's beautiful.
And it's important I keep up with her. And to all you husbands out there, it's important you keep up looking good for your ladies, and vice versa.
Yeah. Or your husband.
Or your husband. Sorry, Brice. Yeah, sorry. There we go. Dropping the ball there. I apologize.
Is Sudoku in your challenge preparation regimen?
Moving forward?
How are we now?
Well, I don't see... If someone put a Sudoku in front of me right now, I'm going to piss on it or burn it because but obviously if I thought I was going back on the show, I'm going to be doing all that because that's what a smart player does. They prepare. I studied tangrams because I've seen tangrams a lot on the show. I even studied the one at the first leg of the final where those octagon X pieces. That's an app. Me and my son do it. When Vincent saw that on the show, he's like, Dad, we do those all the time. I was like, yeah.
You want to see another app?
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not saying I won't do it, but honestly, I mean, if it'll, all right, I'll do Sudoku.
It's actually fun. I love playing.
I believe it's fun.
Yeah.
It's just more of a time. It's just for me, it's just my time's so restricted.
Yeah.
Just my job. I work 14-hour days sitting in traffic.
Yeah. In the city. Anyway, Dom, we could talk to you all night, brother.
Yes, we could.
But we are on a little time crunch.
Wow, 2:12.
Yeah. We
killed it.
My executive producer told me we had to keep this one under an hour 30, and we've exceeded that by a little bit.
Don't take anything out, Brice.
Now everything's staying in.
Now
I know I'm checking the time. All right, I'll make sure.
Brice, I'm sorry, Dom, anything on your heart or your mind that you need to get off? Thoughts on anybody? I mean,
no, everyone knows where everyone's at. I'm good.
Yeah.
I had a good time.
Yeah.
I love some of those people. I like some of those people. And some of those people, if I never speak to again, it's okay. It's okay.
Such is life.
Such is life. I will never lose sleep over any of this stuff. That's the beauty of it. You can't offend me enough. That's like Enzo. We're from the streets. Nothing you're gonna say has ever been as bad as the shit I've heard growing up. I promise you. So yeah, I like I said, overall, I think the experience was great. I just want to tell you guys, I think you guys did a fantastic job. I like that the Wendell Holland channel is thriving.
Thank you.
Brice, I want to say something to you specifically because you've been doing this a while, but I just, in working with you this time around a little bit, I cannot believe how well polished you've become at this. You really are. You're turning into your own version of Sesternino. Who's the man?
Don't say that too loud.
Who's the man? Who is the king of polished podcasting?
For sure.
But you really, over the years of me listening to you, I could see you really grasp this thing and you do it well. And I highly encourage both of you to continue with it because you've run a good show out here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you, Domnick, Gerald, Luther, Vandross, Abbate. I appreciate that truly. Thank you.
For sure.
Yeah, man.
Oh, real quick. I'm going to
got?
be seeing you in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah. Laurel's wedding.
We're going to Laurel's wedding. The old band getting back together.
The gang will be here.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
Dom, do you have a DVD of Ghost Island?
I do not.
Well, Wendell, bring him. Dom,
wait a second. I have to check. I think my ego is big enough that I might have bought one.
Okay,
or three.
Wendell has about 7. So Wendell,
if I would have won, I might have bought a few copies. They're collector's items in his eyes, right?
Well, indeed, because nobody uses DVDs anymore. I mean,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true. But also, yeah, and you won. So
I forgot. Sometimes I forget. Dom, we just want to, again, I know you're a very busy man. We want to invite you and Enzo to our party. Brice and Wen present the premiere on Wednesday. If you're around, I know
I will do my best, but I cannot make promises
no
at
promises.
This time.
But yeah, thank you so much again. Thank you so much for your time, Dom. We appreciate you coming on twice this season. You are a hell of a narrator, one of my closest friends. I appreciate you, and thank you.
All right, boys.
All right, we'll talk to you.
Thank you.
Peace.
It's Brice and Wen with the challenge breakdown. It's Brice and Wen with the challenge breakdown. It's Brice and Wen with the challenge breakdown.